Good morning, everyone. It is April 3rd, 2023, and Chocolate Mousse Day. So this was one of my favorite desserts. I'm a chocolate girl through and through. So I have been trying to figure out how to do this the easiest way today and also make this a little bit healthier. So first, I wanted to just give you some history. I have this recipe that was given to me by one of my chefs in culinary school in 2005 or 2006, Chef Kim Smith. This is the original recipe too, so you can see how it's tattered. I've been trying to keep it as safe as possible because it is absolutely the best recipe. So coincidentally, she worked for a company in Seattle, which is where I'm originally from, called Fran's Chocolates. And Fran, if you've been to Seattle and you've had Fran's Chocolates, you know it's absolutely amazing. So there's a cookbook that Fran put out, and Chef Kim Smith helped with the book, and this recipe is in this book. So it's the one I'm going to use today to make chocolate mousse. I am going to add my own flair, and that is we're going to add some chocolate protein powder because when you have dysphagia, you need something with a little more oomph, little more nutrition. So we are going to make it a high protein chocolate mousse. All right, here we go. All right, so Pure Chocolate is the name of the book. This probably is not the easiest way to make chocolate mousse, but it is the best. So if you want a quick and easy, something my mom used to do when I was little, she used to just take Cool Whip and add in some cocoa powder, and voila, you have quick, easy chocolate mousse. So I'm going to start by taking my eggs. So this recipe calls for 5 egg yolks. We'll do something with the egg whites later. So I have behind me a double boiler. So what this means is that I have a pot that has water in it, and then I have a bowl over the top that I'm going to put my egg yolks in. And what this does is it removes the egg yolks from direct heat so that they don't cook too quickly, okay? Because we want to temper these so they get fluffy. We don't want scrambled eggs, right? So this does take a little bit of arm power. I will also post a, oops, wasn't paying attention. I lost my egg yolk and my whites. That's okay. So I will post a picture. When I was at the grocery store yesterday, I did find a chocolate mousse boxed mix in the pudding aisle. So I have a box of pudding right here behind me. It was just above it on the shelf. So feel free to just get the box mix, and we can figure that out as well. And like I said, I'm going to add a little bit of extra protein powder to this today. So I'm going to grab my egg yolk out of here. Sorry about my cats yelling. They're apparently feeling left out. All right, so these egg whites I'm going to set aside, and we're going to do something else with here in a minute. I'm just going to whisk these. We're going to turn on our heat, and I'm going to turn this on low. My burners are, I like to use the word aggressive, so I am going to keep it on low. That way I have a little bit more control, and that way it doesn't burn me, because we're not interested in getting hurt today. So 5 egg yolks. I have half a cup of sugar. I've got a third of a cup of water, and then I have my chocolate. So you can use something like this. So this unsweetened chocolate is 100%. And this is not sweet at all, right? It says unsweetened on it. And then I have semi-sweet, which is about 56%. So you can get chocolate in just about any percentage. The milk chocolate is much, much less. It's probably closer to 30 or 40%. So it's sweeter. It's got the sugar added. If you have Hershey's, you can use Hershey's too. Not a problem. I am preferential to the dark chocolate, so that's what I'm going to use. I also have a bunch of different, because I'm one of those that likes my options. So we have 64% and 85%. So I took 4 ounces of unsweetened, and then I took 4 ounces of 64%. So it'll be a little bit sweeter. Like I said, we are going to add sugar to this as well, so it's going to be plenty sweet. All right, so the important part about this is we're going to keep stirring. So we're going to just take our eggs and we're going to add our sugar. And what we're looking for here is to get these cooked but not scrambled. Okay, so we want it to be thick ribbons. It should be very smooth. There should be no lumps in it at all. So I'm just going to stir this. It's probably going to take me 20 minutes or so. So the other thing is you may want to grab a towel or a hot pad to hold the edge of your bowl if it does get hot. Because once again, we're not interested in you getting burnt, okay? All right, so I'm just going to continue stirring this until it's thick enough. While we are waiting for this to heat up, I should have done this before, so when you do this, I want you to go back and start with this one. So the chocolate says it needs to be finely chopped. All this means is that it's going to melt that much faster because there's more surface area. So I have my chocolate in here. I'm going to add it to my little food processor. And we're just going to blitz this. Yes, I'm using the stick blender food processor. If you have a Ninja or a Cuisinart or whatever kind of food processor you have, use that for this project. All right, everyone, we are almost there. So I'm just continuing to stir, and I will get this closer to you as we are there so that you can see what I'm talking about when I say it has ribbons. So eggs are a really good source of all kinds of vitamins and minerals, and yes, the egg yolks have cholesterol. It's okay. When you eat cholesterol, your body doesn't have to produce as much. Now, we're talking about healthy forms. We're not talking about like fried food and high amounts of processed meats and things like that. We're talking about good old natural eggs. So this recipe is higher in fat. If you are needing to gain weight because you haven't been able to get enough in, this recipe may be a really good option. Like I said, we're going to add some extra protein to it as well. And then I'm really excited to taste it. So one of the reasons I love chocolate, especially dark chocolate, because dark chocolate has less sugar in it. Dark chocolate is a good antioxidant, which means it's good for your body for a number of reasons. It helps fight what we call free radicals that make you age. And chocolate is also high in magnesium, which is really good for your mental health. It can help with your gut health. It can help with all kinds of things. And a lot of people think that when they are having like muscle cramps and things like that, that it's an electrolyte imbalance. Well, guess what? Magnesium is one of those electrolytes that helps with cramping. So I usually don't tell people to drink things with salt or other electrolytes like sodium, potassium first, because most people do get plenty of those, but they don't get enough magnesium. So just a good place to start for us there. All right, so we're not quite there, but I'm going to show you what this looks like. That water's hot. Okay, so it's still really thin. We're not quite there yet. We're going to keep stirring, and I'm scraping down the sides of the bowl as I go. Make sure my heat is turned down enough so that we don't burn anything. So with chocolate, there are a couple of rules that we need to follow when we're cooking with chocolate. So the first rule is that you don't want to get your chocolate too hot. So there are people that will put their chocolate in the microwave. I'll do that on occasion, but I don't want it to be in there for too long because chocolate burns at a really, really low temperature. So we don't want to give it the opportunity to burn. And yes, this may take a little while longer to melt because these pieces are bigger. That's okay. I'm gonna take the time and we're gonna get it to melt. Second, you don't want your chocolate to come into direct contact with water because it will seize and then you'll end up with clumps and chunks, and it's bad news bears. You do not want your chocolate to seize. All right, so heat and water are two things that chocolate does not like. Now, when we're in this liquid, we're not gonna get it super, super hot, right? We're not gonna get this boiling because we don't want to curdle or scramble our eggs. I mean, sweet scrambled eggs is not something I want to have for breakfast. You know what I mean? So we are gonna add this water to this mixture after we add the chocolate, but it's not chocolate by itself. It's got the egg yolks and the sugar in it to help with the texture. All right, so after this part is done, I have set up back here behind me a hand mixer and a bowl for our whipping cream. And we're gonna whip that cream to soft peaks with our protein powder in it. And then we're gonna put the two together, okay? So this whole process should be completely smooth. We should never have any chunks or lumps in this at any point through this process, okay? All right, this is starting to thicken. I can feel it just a little bit. We don't want it to go too fast because it can get really thick really fast, and then we gotta start over. And I don't know about you, but eggs are getting a little expensive these days, so I use 5 egg yolks and I don't wanna waste them. I wanna be able to eat them. Okay, so I'm gonna bring this a little closer to you. You can see this starting to leave the whisk in it. We're almost there, okay? Almost there. So the recipe says, whisk the yolks and sugar together until pale, yellow, and thick. A ribbon should fall back in the bowl when the whisk is lifted and the sugar should begin to dissolve. So we're almost there. Not quite, but almost there. And honestly, I don't know that I need to put this over the water because it's still pretty warm. We're gonna actually let it go for another minute. I did not burn myself, I promise. All right. Not even a minute. That was seconds. Okay, so is it pale yellow? You see a ribbon there? Pretty darn close. I'm gonna go just another second. And this is why I have it on low heat, because, yep, all right, I'm gonna say we're there. Okay, so now stir in the water. Okay, so this says stir in the water. And put it back over our double boiler, whisking vigorously. Place over simmering water and cook, whisking vigorously until the mixture is quite thick and coats the back of a spoon, about 160 degrees. Now, if you have a thermometer, this is the place to pull it out. If you don't, we're just gonna use our spoon that we had, and we're gonna make it coat the back of the spoon, okay? All right. And then we're gonna remove it from the heat after that, and we're gonna add our chocolate. And we're gonna continue to stir it until it is cool to the touch. Now, this might be a good recipe for you to make with a friend, because if your arm feels like it's gonna fall off, you may need someone to tag in and keep stirring for you. When I was in culinary school, that same Chef Smith, that gave me this recipe, she used to say, keep whisking until your arm literally falls off. And of course, your arm was never going to fall off, but it definitely felt like it was going to. So you'll get some arm strength from this. Now, if you don't have the stamina because you're tired, because you're malnourished, this would be a good time to pull out your whisk, your either your immersion stick blender whisk or your hand mixer whisk, okay? Because I know a lot of these hand mixers come with attachments, and I know mine does. See, I've got this whisk right here that attaches to it. So if that might be the way you want to go if you don't have a person with you and you want to make this recipe. There are ways to make this easier. We have tools in the kitchen for this reason. All right, so this is, let's see if I can drop this down. It's super frothy, right? That water mixed with those eggs and that sugar, it just makes it super, super foamy. But we're not going to stop whisking. We're going to keep whisking. All right, and this does take a while, so keep going. And I'm not going to turn the camera off because I want you to see that this is a process, okay? And of course, this may be something that you do for a special occasion. This may not be something you do just every day, but the great news is your family's gonna love this, and they're not even gonna think about the fact that it's technically pureed or pudding style, because this is one of those traditional desserts that they make in restaurants and charge a lot of money for. So if you can make this at home, even better. All right, I want you to be able to see that. Perfect, okay. So I'm gonna grab my thermometer out. Yes, I have a thermometer on hand. My husband and I, because we're both chefs, we use it all the time. So I have it set to Fahrenheit because we're in the US and we don't typically use the metric system. So I'm gonna see what the temp is here. All right, it's at 160.72. Okay, woo, guess what, we're done. Okay, so, and this is why they say it should coat the back of the spoon, because it should. Okay, so here we are, and you can't quite see that, so let me move my camera so you can see this. Okay, so I turned my burner off, move it a little bit away, because even though it's off, there's still heat coming from there, right? Okay, so I'm gonna add this chocolate, and we're just gonna stir and stir and stir until this is dissolved, okay? And if I had put my towel under my bowl, because the bottom of my bowl is wet, it wouldn't have slid, but because I didn't, I'm just gonna hold it while I stir it, okay? Okay. So I do have a recipe for white chocolate mousse attached to my regular dark chocolate mousse recipe. It does involve using gelatin. So if anyone is interested and wants me to make that at some point, just let me know and we can work that into the rotation somehow. I personally am not a huge fan of white chocolate just because it doesn't have the same benefits that chocolate does. It's mostly just milk and sugar. It doesn't have cocoa in it. Okay, do you see how thick that is getting? Oh, this is going to be amazing. All right. All right. I think I probably don't need that anymore because I can handle holding this. And this is getting super, super thick. I don't know if you can see that I'm struggling just a little bit. All right. So if I had finally chopped my chocolate like I was supposed to, this would all be melted already, but I do still have some chunks in there. So I'm just gonna let it keep going. So I'm gonna let this kind of hang out, and I'm probably gonna get my spatula and just continue to stir this with my spatula because this is almost too thick for my whisk. All right, so clear off my whisk. Yes, I do this with my hands. because Stephanie kind of makes fun of me because I like to get everything off. I don't like anything to go to waste. She's like, it's fine, it's fine. I was raised by a frugal farmer, and he didn't like things to go to waste either. So, all right. Chocolate. Delightful. Okay, so now I'm going to whip some cream, and I'm gonna grab a spatula and I'm gonna fold this in. First, I'm gonna wash my hands. Hands are clean. Got my spatula. I'm just kind of stirring through this to see if I have any lumps. Oop, there's one. Here's the thing, if you have a lump and you just can't get it, if you don't think it's gonna melt all the way, just pull it out. I think that might be the only one. And if you just want it to melt, just move it to the bottom. I'll just put it in and this is off, remember, it's not turned on anymore. I'll just let it here and absorb a little bit of heat. Okay, so now I'm going to get my cream out of the fridge and we're going to whip our cream, okay? All right. So I have 1 cup of cream here. And I'm gonna take 1 scoop of protein. This protein, 1 scoop, has 14 grams. So that's just gonna increase this. And this is, so my friend gave me this protein because she didn't like the flavor of it. I've been drinking it in my coffee and I actually like it quite a bit. So, works for me, right? Okay, so we're gonna throw 1 scoop in there. We're gonna see how this goes. All right. Maybe we'll add 2. We'll see. We gotta know what we're working with first. Okay. This will probably take a couple of minutes. So if you have a cold metal bowl, your cream will whip faster than if you have a warm or a plastic bowl. So there. So we want soft peaks, soft whipped. We don't want it to be super stiff. All right. So it's starting to hold shape, but it's still got a lot of movement to it. Alright, so we're starting to get less movement. Let's see how far I can stretch here. Less movement. Alright, so when we lift here, it holds, but those peaks, they fall over. That's exactly where you want it. So oh, I guess I still need one of those to show you this up close. All right, so when you have your whip and you want it to hold, but it falls over, right? It's still got form, but it's not like standing straight up. It still falls over. That's good. That's exactly where we want it. Okay. Okay, so now, so the other thing is, if you wanted to make this chocolate peanut butter mousse, yesterday was National Peanut Butter and Jelly Day. And I got peanut butter powder. You could add a little bit of this and make this chocolate peanut butter mousse if you wanted. You have options. Okay, so now my recipe says, after you whisk the cream until soft peaks form, gently fold into the melted chocolate, cover and refrigerate about 4 hours, and then serve it cold. Okay, so this is stiff. See this? All right. And I'm gonna put this into our whip, not the other way around because this bowl is tiny. Okay. And so when it says fold for a recipe, that means you're gonna use a spatula like this one. All right. And I'm just going to mix this in. And fold literally means fold it over. Fold it over. Okay. And I'm just going to leave this in this bowl to refrigerate it. Okay. So, actually, prop this up a little bit so you can see it a little bit better. And this is going to be super, super thick. So, if you didn't want it to be quite as thick, you could add a little bit less chocolate. You could add a little more heavy cream. Oh, this is just absolutely gorgeous. Take a look at that. Okay, so like I said, after we're done mixing this all together, we're gonna stick it in the fridge and let it refrigerate. I am gonna cover it with some plastic wrap. And then here in a couple hours, we're gonna taste it. Okay, welcome back. So I have our chocolate mousse, and as you can see, it is stiff. We have quite a bit here. This is right about at the 32-ounce line, which is a quart. It's not quite that much. So this makes 8 servings. I don't know that you're gonna wanna eat a whole serving. So I have a scoop here. You can just use a spoon. As you can see, it's very, very thick. This is thicker than pudding thick. If you need this thinned out a little bit, you can thin it out with a little bit of milk or even some coffee. Or even a little bit of water. It's totally up to you. So that was one scoop. This scoop size, I don't think has the size on it because it's not one of the fancy ones, but about 3 ounces, or it's probably, it's less than half a cup. That's a full serving. So like I said, this is really, really thick. If you need this thinner or more liquidized, you could even put it in your blender. I like my blend jet. If you have a blend jet, you can put it in your blend jet with a little bit of milk or a little bit of coffee, like I said earlier, and you could turn it into like a chocolate soup, I guess. Or if you have the strength to get this down, you can just eat it the way it is right now. Couple of rules here. If you're eating, you're not supposed to eat this fast. This is one of those things you need to sit and enjoy. And it may take a little bit of work to move it around in your mouth. You're not supposed to move this around fast. You're supposed to move it around slow and enjoy it. It's not something that you're supposed to gulp down. It's really, really rich. The chocolate, because I used really dark chocolate, has a little bit of a bite to it. If you don't like dark chocolate, stick with your milk chocolate. You can even use chocolate chips for this recipe. They melt so easily. So if you have more questions about chocolate mousse, let us know. This is one of my favorite things ever. And if you want some more suggestions or are looking for a recipe that's similar, let me know. Enjoy National Chocolate Mousse Day, everyone.